Oh.
Which baby boy? Awesome. Should we do water pump first? This tutorial has turned into how to take an engine out of a Ranchero, into how to eat an apple by Sam. Welcome back. The last episode, I had taken the car for a drive, and when I take it for that drive, we found that the shaking I had been messing with this entire time, I had just like an epiphany, and it just popped in my head. This little knowledge I learned at one point in time about the balance of flywheels, and Ford made a terrible mistake, and in the late 80s, early 90s, they switched the flywheel or flex plate weight for the balance of the engine to a 50 ounce from a 28 ounce in older cars. In the short of it, I took the 28 ounce flywheel off the old engine and put it on the new engine. The new engine is from a new car, and of course it caused an imbalance in the whole thing. It means the motor had to come back out, which sucks because, you know, we just put it back in. So today we are going to start to try to pull this engine back out of the car, and we're going to replace the flywheel. While we're at it, we're going to do a water pump, and we're also going to try to fix our dipstick problem. Since day one, the rear dipstick location from a Fox body just won't work in this car with this front sump pan. So I ended up buying a new front sump pan with a dipstick on the pan, and we're going to put all that in, and the car should be drivable after that point. So I came one day and I started getting prepped for, you know, getting the engine pulled out. I pulled off the fuel lines, I pulled off the headers, I pulled off the carburetor, I pulled off the front radiator, I drained the coolant, I drained the oil, I drained every fluid in the car and started to get ready to pull the engine out. Ben couldn't be there that day because he was working, so I got everything done that day. So the next day he was there, we could just pull the engine out really quickly.
You're good.
Ben's here today. We're back for a second day. Ooh. The goal of the day is to get the engine out of the car, put all the new parts on the car, the pan, reseal the water pump, put a new flex plate on it, put it back in the car. Hopefully that happens today. And yeah, first step is getting some bell housing bolts off and some torque converter bolts. We'll get those off real quick and then get ready to pull this engine out.
And hopefully it's that easy.
It's been out one time before. Put it against the back. Yep. Ooh, it's a wobbly boy.
Oh.
It's a wobbly boy. So now we're gonna lift the car up so I can get under the car to get to the starter and the torque converter bolts. So
Nice.
We're gonna do that now. Come on. There we go. We got torque converter bolts off. Now it's gonna get the bell housing bolts off, and then the engine should be able to, we put a crane on it and should be able to start lifting it out.
Woo!
So right now we're gonna take the bell housing bolts off this thing, which there are, I believe, 6 of them. And they're all 5/8, and they're on the back of the engine. Those are gonna be a lot harder to get to because of the brake booster in the way. So I'm going by hand now. We got the bell housing bolts off. Now the engine we should put the lift on.
Woo!
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, engine's out. We have to change this flywheel out. This is the up thing. Actually, wait, let me go get the new one real quick. You can't see it. This one is the one we're putting on, is a 50 ounce counterweight. This one is a 28 ounce counterweight. That's why our engine's been shaking. It's been this thing. The entire time. It's been this. We're gonna take this one off, put it on. We gotta put a new pan on, possibly throw it back in the car. We'll see. Ready? Yep, same way. Ah, there we go. That's one. 3. Nice. One more. Nice.
That was the easiest one. All right.
Just kind of make a decision now whether we want to put it on the stand or not, because we could just leave it like this.
Honestly,
What do you think?
I think we might as well do it because it's right here. We just hold we have 2 people. I'll hold the stand up. You just bolt it to it.
We can lower it down. We can lower it down a little bit too.
Right. And we get to it.
Should we do water pump first? Should we do pan first?
Let's do pan first.
Okay, cool. Engine's out on the stand. We are now going to flip it over and take the pan off. And we're gonna put our new pan on. And yeah. It came out pretty quickly. Got it out, started to get to work pulling stuff off. Pulled the oil pan off, came off super easy. I mean, it was just put on, so I'd hope it'd come off super easy. As we were putting the new pan on, we kept trying to put it down and it just wasn't fitting. Something was hitting on it. When we started looking at it, we figured out the oil pickup from the oil pump was actually hitting on the pan. There's like this baffle that's in there to keep the oil from sloshing around too much when you go around corners. And that baffle was hitting the tube for the oil pickup.
So this tutorial has turned into how to take an engine out of a Ranchero, into how to eat an apple by Sam. And we first thought maybe the hole for this was too small, but we checked it and it looked plenty big. What we've learned is that this is a stock like 1960 something oil pan pickup for this engine. Basically, the Canon racing pan needs to, it has a baffle here. This one that curves out way far and comes around actually hits the side of the baffles of the pan and the inside of the baffle. We can either cut that pan, the $300 pan, and make this one work right this second, and risk getting metal in our oil and breaking a pan that costs $300. Or we can be adults and we can order the $75 part to fix this. We're gonna order a $75 part. It's not gonna be in today. Today, we're gonna finish up here though. While we're here, we'll do a water pump on the front, which is one of the reasons the engine's out, and then put this thing aside for the weekend and put it back in soon. So we'll figure that out. After this commercial break from our sponsor. Oh, we don't have.
So I pitted Jegs and the Summit against each other to get the one in first. Summit came in first.
We're back with day 3 now, trying to get this fixed and back in the car. I have a new oil pickup for this that hopefully will allow us to put the new pan on just fine. So let's do that. Because I forgot that I needed a gasket, we're just gonna do it without one. We're gonna use a little bit of RTV on the inside of the pickup. Obviously, if you have a gasket, you don't have to do this. These take 25 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna boy out and get 25 foot-pounds put on these. 25 foot-pounds. Got this thing fully torqued down. Everything is, I think, ready to flip back over. We're gonna seal the dipstick hole and get ready to put this thing back on the crane. Time to use the crane. And we're gonna get the engine up and put the new flywheel on and put the backing plate on. And then, yeah, we should be ready for when Sam gets here, and Sam's gonna help us put the engine in, but I'm gonna get it up and ready for that first, so. Every time the car is shaking, all of it, it was because this was not on there. This is a 50-ounce flywheel. We've had a 28-ounce the entire time. The weight right here is so much bigger. This should fix all of our shaking. This car should run really smooth now once this is on. Hoping we didn't screw anything up in the process while having the other one on it. But yeah, it's time to put this on, throw the engine back in the car.
So I got the engine up on the crane, got everything ready to go, and Sam showed up. And we torqued down the flex plate, had red Loctite on it, got it all torqued down and nice and snug. We started to get ready to put the engine back in the car. It was going really smoothly for a minute. Like, getting it in the actual hole was not hard, but then once we got it, like, we were trying to fit it there, it just wasn't going on. We were turning over the front of the engine, trying to see if we can get it to match up. Nothing matched up.
Me and Sam have been screwing with this for a while, but we can't get these to match up. There's a couple bolts on the torque converter that will not line up, so we're gonna stop for the day because it's getting pretty dark, but I'm gonna try to basically lift the back of the whole engine up a little bit and line up the bolts on the torque converter, line up the bolts on the flywheel, and then shove it back together. But for now, we're done. So, day 4. Welcome back. Yesterday, after turning the camera off, I ended up bolting the rest of the engine down to the transmission. I was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but got it all together. But all the flywheel bolts are tightened down, so we're now going to put the headers back on first. We'll continue with everything else, but first we're gonna get some headers on and then continue on with our day.
It was there. I put all the torque converter bolts back on, put all the bell housing bolts back on, started putting fuel lines on, started putting everything on back on the car, And that night I was ready to fire it up. So tried starting it, and it honestly wasn't sounding very good. And then also it just wouldn't start. We were turning it on and no gas was coming in the fuel filter. Next day I came by and my dad was here, and we decided to get the car finished back up. So we put back on the fuel hose. We went and got 5 gallons of gas in the car and went to go turn it over, and we got gas coming up the fuel filter. So it was just out of gas, one. And when we started turning it over, I heard like one of the nastiest sounds ever. I mean, I thought I had screwed up really bad because I thought the engine blew up. Like it was like, it sounded that bad. Had the thought of pulling off the starter to see if we could look in the starter hole and see where the flywheel was and see if we could get it to like see what was happening. Pulled the starter off and go turn it over, and it turned over and didn't make the noise at all. And we looked on the starter and we saw where there was some fresh metal on the starter, where it had been the weight was coming around and hitting, because it's a thicker weight for this the bigger weight for the 50-ounce flywheel, and it was hitting the starter. 2 little washers that I just slipped in between the starter to kind of just space it out a little bit, put it back on, and it worked great. No more noise. The car started up perfectly and ran. So that by the time we had gotten all that done, it had gotten really dark by the end of the day. It was just too dark to drive the car. We don't have any really the lights working yet, so we weren't really sure, it wasn't really safe to drive the car. A couple days later, Sam came here with me, and I finished a couple things in the car to get it ready, and it was time to take it for a drive for the first time. Okay, this is the first drive in the Ranchero since we did the flywheel. Dude, the shake's all gone. It's all fucking gone. Doesn't this feel like a normal car?
Brand new engine.
Dude.
She's running.
Just the brakes. Brakes work well. Dude. It drives. I know mirror. I want to go look at the mirror. I can't see anything.
I was about to say.
There's nothing there. There's no mirror here either.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
Wait, I can do this. Oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Back here. It
Can't see
doesn't
shit.
matter.
It's so dope. There's not a lot of power, but it's good. It's not supposed to.
It moves. More than
little
the
bit.
bus does.
More than the bus does. I'm turning.
Did you just pull
Please
a
don't hit
hand
me.
signal?
I'm turning.
Amanda's biker experience.
I know my brake lights work though, so.
That's all that matters.
Dude, this is the first time this thing's been back since I got the engine in to my house.
Most importantly, we have the Mustang.
Yeah, it's gonna sit next to its older brother.
Slightly prettier older brother.
Slightly prettier. It's got a little better paint on it right now. Oh. It drove!
It definitely drove.
Oh. We always had this shake, and we always had all these problems, and you can see in all the videos we've always mentioned this shake we've had in the car, and I've never been able to get rid of it. I've just never been able to get rid of it, and the entire time it was just the wrong flex plate. That's all it was. And now that it's finally driving, I can start to do all the other stuff I want to do in the car. I need to refinish the bed. I need to get inside of it. I need to do the doors. I need to do the seats. I need to do the whole interior needs to be redone. But we've got the suspension and the engine fixed, and the transmission seems fine. Everything else seems fine. The drivetrain. It just needs all the finishing work done on it. So this is the start of the end, which is pretty cool.